Got some breaking news coming in here to CBS Sports HQ. Stephen Silas and the Houston Rockets, they have decided to part ways, and that has been confirmed by our Bill Reiter, the longtime NBA assistant. Spent the last 3 seasons as head coach of the Rockets, leading them to a pretty disappointing overall record of just 59 wins, 177 losses. Also elsewhere, Dwayne Casey announcing that he will not be the Pistons head coach next season. Casey now transitioning to a front office role with the team, going from the bench upstairs to the front office. The Pistons, Rockets, and Spurs now have the best odds to win the NBA draft lottery this summer. Let's go ahead and bring in CBS Sports basketball and NBA analyst Bill Reiter. And Bill, pretty big news here on a Sunday. We'll start with the Stephen Silas news. Spent 3 years there with the Houston Rockets. They declined to pick up the 4th-year option there. 59 wins, 177 losses. You look at it, a very young team here. Had some sort of beef with the GM as well, looking at practices and things of that nature when you look at it. What do you see here? What's the latest here? What's your read here on why this went down here with Stephen Silas, a young coach in the NBA?
Yeah, Larry, a tale as old as time. I mean, this is a situation where Stephen Silas was set up to fail. And we see this. Teams that are rebuilding will hire coaches who aren't going to win a lot of games over a 1 or 2 or 3 year period. Whereas you said, it's young players. You're trying to get those ping pong balls a lot more than you're trying to get W's. And for Silas, who I think is a pretty good coach and pretty well respected, it isn't fair. It isn't the way you want these things to go. But the fact is he didn't win a lot of games because he couldn't with the roster they gave him. They're going to now move to bring in a more experienced coach. There are names like Nick Nurse that are out there. If he decides to leave Toronto, that's certainly expected. Frank Vogel, whatever you think about Ime Udoka, whether or not he should coach, teams are certainly interested in my conversation with executives. So what I think is that Stephen Silas got a raw deal. It happens in the NBA, and now that the Rockets think they're in a position to be more successful, they're going to bring in somebody else.
Yeah, he was pretty reflective earlier this week in that last home game. He said, look, I was proud of the job that I've done here. So he was already sort of seeing this coming down the pike here. You look at it, you go back a couple of years ago, or a few years ago when they had James Harden and also Russell Westbrook. He thought he was taking over a team with a veteran-laden team, a team that had some sort of NBA championship aspirations. And then both of those guys are gone, and he's stuck with these young guys, had some leadership problems as well with the young kids. How big do you think that was, not having Harden, not having Russell Westbrook, and a veteran-laden team to coach and taking over a bunch of young guys?
I mean, it's a brutal turn of events. Say what you want about James Harden, the fact that he's gone from place to place. He's obviously an elite player. He's won MVP awards. I mean, you're talking about, especially when we go back in time, Larry, when we thought Harden was going to be a Rocket, you're talking about a guy whose presence made the Rockets, championship contender, or if you want to be, picky, a conference finals contender. And then when he decides to force his way out in the carousel that is NBA superstardom today, you're right. It became a very different job and a very different situation. And it doesn't matter. You could have thrown Greg Popovich into that job. You could have thrown anybody into that job. With that young team, with that roster, just the place where Houston was because of the absence and the exit of those stars, no head coach was going to have real success over that time period.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.